I said, TJ, let's do a episode 2 of Max Your Mind. He showed up dressed for the beach.
It's getting warm out here. It's LA, so.
Where's this guy coming from?
Came from hitting the gym. Now I'm getting ready to.
I know you're training legs like 4 times a week these days.
Oh man, actually, the calories been going up, so trying to figure out a way how to maximize.
How's the calories going up when there's more people that need food these days?
Hey,
You're being greedy.
I guess we gotta eat while we can before they starve us.
Either that or start your own farm.
You know what I mean?
Episode of Max Your Mind. I'm Max Philisaire, TJ The Contender. And tune in, guys. We're gonna be sharing with you some valuable insight about distractions, obstacles, and how we view them, in the past, and how we view them now. Speaking of nutrition, I didn't plan to talk about nutrition. I try not to plan too much because sometimes it's better to just let the conversation go where it naturally goes.
I think
that's what I prefer. But you have a nutrition background and nursing background.
Yeah.
Can you tell us? Actually, part of what inspired this episode is I saw you made a post about how you were bullied as a kid when you first pursued football.
Yeah.
Can you speak on a little bit about the upbringing and then football?
Yeah, man. It's amazing because when people see the TJ The Contender right now, they're just like, man, like it was so easy for you. You know, you got a good genetics. You probably didn't have to go through anything.
I thought you always looked like RoboCop.
And it's amazing to hear people say that, but growing up, it wasn't always like that. You know, I didn't have any interest in even playing football to begin with. So I was just, I played soccer while I was growing up. I played soccer and I ran track. And it's a completely different sport. It's like you got to be fast. So you're doing a lot of endurance training, a lot of cardio. So throughout the school, when I decided to try out for other sports, you know, like football and things like that, it was different. You know, the coach came up to me and said, listen, I mean, you run track, you're fast, and we think that we need somebody with some speed on the team. Like, you'd be a good addition. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, yeah, man, this is going to be a piece of cake. You know, I went on the team. I remember my sophomore year in high school.
What was your height and weight then?
I was about 5'9". So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, man, this is going to be a breeze.
How much did you weigh?
I was about 100 and I think 45 or 50. You know,
efficient.
Yes, skinny dude, but fast, very fast. So I actually ran for the state. I ran in Penn State relay. Interesting. I was actually nominated as who's who amongst America's favorite athlete as a track star.
What event?
It was 2006 in the 200 event, and then I ran the 800 meter. But like I said, it's something that I did throughout, you know, elementary and high school. And, you know, just thinking like, man, this is going to be easy. I think it was also one of the first time I really faced a challenge that made me have to go back and say, all right, you're either going to try to figure out if you're going to try to go through this or you're going to try to just back out of it. Because getting on the field and feeling bullied and pushed around, it's not a you know, you're in high school. It's not a fun feeling. You know,
was it tough love or there was no love? It was just you know, picking on you.
I definitely think it was tough love because, you know, football is a man's game. You know, if you get on the turf, it's, you know, you gotta have the mindset, the discipline. And you also gotta want it. So it's like the challenge was there. The dudes that were playing, they were playing to be better at their position. So it wasn't like, you know, an easy play in the park. It was like the goal is to challenge you to be better. So it was the first time I faced that type of obstacle. But then I was like, I kept thinking to myself, like, man, like, you know, you're either gonna have to figure out a way to get better at this, or you're gonna have to go back to where you came from. So it's like
Go back to soccer.
yeah.
No hate on soccer. I love soccer. I came from soccer.
Yeah. But it was actually interesting because that summer, you know, every summer, you know, we go away to summer camps and stuff like that. And everybody was like, yo, where you going? I was like, I'm not going to summer camp. You know, and I told my mom, you know, I went to the school.
Why'd you say you're not going?
Because I was trying to get in the gym. So I went to the school. I had a PE coach who was in the weight room training. And I just told him, like, you know, I'm trying to get in the weight room, trying to get my weight up. Told him what was going on with me and how I was interested in getting to the next level. And I think it wasn't so much of what happened, but it was just the fact that the way I was challenged by my teammates, it sparked something inside of me. And, you know, facing adversity sometimes, it depends how you take it. Like, you can, like, I was upset at myself that I wasn't able to do a task as of getting off the line. Like, trying to get off the line and somebody's just jamming you, like, it's like you can't even get off. So for me, that kind of lit a spike inside of me. And then, you know, come to find out, man, went in the gym. I spent my whole summer, 3 months. All I did was I ate, slept, trained, 3 months.
Repeat?
Yeah, came back, put on 15 pounds of muscle. And other than that, that's when, you know, I fell in love with the gym, you know, started exercising. Came back the following year, actually competed for a spot on the team, and I ended up beating the dude and taking his spot. And that's how the name, you know, just being the contender, because I kind of felt like I was challenged and I had to earn something. So a contender is someone that's willing to step up, willing to face adversity, but also like go through it. So yeah, it was actually an amazing experience, man. And ever since then, I fell in love with hitting the gym.
Is that what you were lacking? You feel like you just needed some more size and power? Is that what was missing on the field?
Yeah, I mean, the other skills and attributes with like catching the football and things like that all comes. But as a receiver, you know, they're skill positions. Most important thing is you gotta be fast. That's number one, because if as a receiver, if you're not fast, then, you know, you're gonna have issues. Number two, you got to be able to get off the line. And number three, you got to be able to catch the ball. It's either that or you're sitting on the bench. So if I can't get off the line, I can't even catch the ball. I always like to talk about this because, you know, because even when people see the records back there, they're like, oh, man, you look really good. I was like, but I had to go through adversity to get here. So it's great talking about this because it's something that I like to share with people and let them know, like, you know, if you have your mind set on something and you really want to do it, you know, you're going to find a way to make that happen. You know, so I was given a choice. It's like.
So you needed somebody like,
yeah,
pull the trigger.
Yeah. So
add some fuel to the fire.
It made me feel like I wasn't, you know, pushing myself to my true potential because, you know, yeah, I was running track and soccer. I thought it was cool, but, you know, there was levels to this. I went from running to getting on the field and thinking I was going to dominate on the football field. And it's like, you know, you had to step it up. So, and you know what? That actually helped a lot. It helped a lot along my journey as far as, you know, transitioning into where I'm at right now. That mindset, you know, I think that's what it is. Because you're going to go through stuff, you know, like it's going to be obstacles, it's going to be adversity. But you got to ask yourself, you know, what are you trying to do? I could have went to a summer camp that year, hang out with the homies, you know, do everything, and I came back and still not be able to do anything on the football field.
No change.
But, the fact that I was inspired to want to get better at it because I was challenged, it just sparked something inside of me, and that's how I fell in love with working out.
Yeah, we've changed, and I would say we've changed and also results of success with where we want to be. Oftentimes we don't realize that obstacles and failure is part of it. That's what helps build character, and that's it's insight on how to progress and then also how to maintain a position that you've achieved. And that's trial trial and error, trials and tribulation.
Yeah.
And it's not something you have to be like, oh, come to me, obstacles. But that's just part of life. And when it comes, are you gonna panic? Are you gonna pivot? And it's so like once you start having these conversations with yourself, and you're like, okay, there's a pattern in life, in different situations, different experience, different relationships. I'm gonna be challenged in different ways. So let me get ready for these challenges. That way, when they come, I handle them like a problem solver versus a victim.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like that. Like with soccer, like I really enjoyed. I didn't know back then playing. There's even in video games, there's like a challenge. Or if you're wrestling, fighting, there's a challenge aspect that I think men in general and women as well that's attractive. We want to be challenged. We want to compete, even if it's just for fun. And so I enjoyed that about team sports, soccer, basketball. Basketball challenged me more mentally because it was like foreign to me.
Oh yeah, I saw you made a post about that. I was gonna ask you. So how was your experience with playing ball?
Man, I wasn't fast. I was quick. So like for track I ran the. I wasn't quick in for track I ran the mile.
Okay.
So like more long distance, not very long distance. But on the basketball court, I was quicker. I used my mind to like I was light, 150 pounds, same height, 6'1". So I was like, I used my mind to like make quick adjustments on the basketball court, and so I was killing it at the park. But when I got on the basketball team, it was like, oh, this is the platform was intimidating.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I started doubting myself, watching other more experienced athletes and thinking to myself, can I perform? Do I belong here? Can I perform, compete with them and compete against them? And that paralyzed me. I wasn't prepared. But the thing is, it didn't have to paralyze me.
Okay.
If I had the reinforcement, because I didn't birth myself.
Yeah.
So like when it comes to basketball or anything that you're working towards, you need a coach.
Yeah.
You need a coach or a mentor.
Yeah, you definitely.
Even if it's not somebody that's like right in front of you, it might be a YouTube video. There might be somebody coaching you from there. But I needed somebody to direct me on how to handle this obstacle, this new obstacle, and I never overcame it. So I never like went further in basketball, which is that's just how life happened. But I ran into the same obstacles in other aspects of life, and I had to work towards them then, because like eventually you have to like overcome that same obstacles. You can't just push it to the side and be I don't have to deal with this.
That's what I was gonna ask you. Like, so how did you deal with similar situations like that moving forward in life? Like you said, and how you was challenged with the basketball, but you didn't complete it. So when you were faced with similar challenge, did that affect how you handled it, or did you have a different mindset towards it? The fact that you wasn't able to move forward with the basketball.
Yeah, it's the same mindset. You're gonna have the same mindset until you actually
you do
figure out how do I overcome this problem. How do I strategize? And I would say with bodybuilding, with weight training, it's not a team sport unless you're part of a team of guys that are training together and you got a coach. Even then, it's still very individual because they compete against each other as individuals. But I enjoyed it because I was on my own schedule, and it was competitive because you walk around, you go shopping, and there's other men there. So how somebody else carries himself, influences you as well. You're like, okay, well, this is how I should be dressing, and this is how a man should look. Like I grew up watching Rambo and Arnold films, so I was like, okay, that's what a man is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
So there's that competition aspect there, even if it's an individual, personal goal you're working towards. And I would say when people started asking me for advice, they wanted me to be a coach, then I had to like get out of my box of just working towards a personal goal and listen to others, and also welcome more people into my space.
Yeah.
And again, like for the basketball, it was I'm at the park just playing with the homies, and then the school basketball team was like a bigger platform with more eyes.
Yeah.
You know, you got the family members and the whole school in the stadium. So like that was intimidating. So with I would say with fitness, I started drawing attention from getting results, and that challenged me to just think out of the box. I found out it wasn't about me. You know, I was thinking about my feelings, what I want, and what makes me comfortable.
Yeah.
But people pulled me out of my comfort zone. I had to get out of my comfort zone. Like, you know, your teammates were rough with you, but they took you out of a comfort zone you were in.
Oh, yeah.
You had to find a new comfort zone.
And even with playing, like to add to what you're saying, with playing later on, because the school that I went to, we had two of the best schools football that was within our same area. So every year we had to go through those schools to get to the next level. So, you know, them challenging me actually helped a whole lot.
Right.
Because if I wasn't being challenged, I don't think I would have gotten better enough to even compete against the dudes from the other school. So, in other words, what you could say is the obstacles and stuff that's going to come, you know, you have to accept them, because that's just how life is.
That's part of growth.
Yeah, it's part of, you know, the growth and everything. And I'm gonna tell you, even before that, I was the guy that used to shy away from stuff like that. I used to be like, nah, I don't want to do it. I remember even my first game, just like you say about being a level audience. My mom was at work, you know, daddy wasn't around, and I walk on the turf, looking around high school and everybody, man, I could feel the nerve, and you know, just been like, I felt like I was just, someone just took me and put me in a different environment. Like, I'm used to playing soccer, running the field. First football game, I was so nervous I couldn't even catch the football. And
you dropping?
Yeah, I was so nervous, and I remember a coach pulled me to the side and said, "You're gonna have to get out of your own head." And to this day, I mean, it's something that really stuck with me. He said, "You're focusing more on trying to catch the ball than actually catching the ball."
Trying.
Yeah, so I was like,
because you've caught it in practice.
Yeah, caught it in practice.
So what's the issue?
Yeah,
right?
he said you're focusing on trying to really catch it than just catching it.
That's what I was doing in basketball games.
And it hits me, and it's like, because the fact that I was focused more on the crowd, the audience, the nerves, and it's. I mean, shout out to the athletes, man, because it's like, you got to walk out there. There are people there, but you gotta turn it on. You got to turn whatever is off outside, and then you got to turn on while you're there. And it didn't really dawn on me until, like, he pulled me to the side and was like, you know, you're gonna have to turn off whatever is going on around and focus on the field. So it's definitely great having, you know, some type of a coach or a mentor around when you're doing these things, because it really helps you. And this also something that, you know, transcend into bodybuilding,
other aspects of
you
life,
know,
as well.
and everything else that we're doing. So you're definitely right about that.
So, like, how was life growing up? You said your dad was in there. Like, how did that influence you?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. People don't notice, but I never seen my dad since I was born. He wasn't around. And till to this day, I still haven't seen him until I found out he passed away. But part of that also influenced me in so much, you know, just trying to be something different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I remember even going to practice and games. You know, growing up, my mom always worked, so she wasn't around for a lot of games, a lot of activities and stuff like that. You know, I had a group of teammates, you know, and friends that I would hang out with. It pretty much became like a brotherhood, you know. So I think it really inspired me to just strive to be better, because I kind of felt like I always had like this chip on my shoulder, as if like, what happened? And to this day, I think I still haven't gotten that closure or that answer, or to like have that face-to-face conversation to get to the bottom of it. So always growing up, I've always had a chip on my shoulder, as if like, you know, I need to be better. No matter what was it, no matter what was put in front of me, like, I need to be better. And I think that it drove me into trying to be a better example, because I had siblings that were growing up as well. it influenced me to try to set a foundation for them to like look at that and be inspired. Because I mean, growing up in Brooklyn, it's a different lifestyle. You're either gonna be influenced by your friends and people you're following, but I always knew that there was more. There was more out of just selling drugs, guns.
How did you know that there was more?
Man, I would go to practice and I would see my other friends, their parents would like come to the game with them, drive them. And then I remember one time I took a vacation and I went to Ocean City in Maryland. And when I went to Ocean City, I was walking on the beach and I started to see, families and people were rental properties with just living life. And then and it struck a chord inside of me, like that's something that I didn't experience growing up, because like I said, having a single mom, having to always work. So I knew that like at the end of the day, I wanted to be better so I can give back. I felt like she sacrificed so much for us to be where we were. And, like I said, you only had two choices where I grew up. Sell drugs or do something good. And I know one path wasn't going to end up. So it ends up only death or prison. That's the two options. So I'm very grateful for sports because that it pulled me away from the streets and doing stuff. So
kept you occupied.
Yeah. So people that I hung out with were fellow athletes, like my friends. So we will, go to practice, do things together. And that just kind of built that discipline, the discipline and staying on track, being consistent. But yeah, man, it's definitely different, because when you grow up in a surrounding like that, you're most likely going to get influenced because you're seeing stuff, you're seeing people getting certain things in the hood, like cars and things like that, but they're getting it a different way. They're getting it a quick way. So, you're like, and at that point, it's just like sports. I mean, and I think I speak for me, and I also shine lights on a lot of people that grew up in the hood. 9 times out of 10, sports is the ticket out. Yeah, it's the ticket out. If that's what people go hard in sports. It's like we play sports in hopes that you're gonna make it to the NBA, the NFL, or you're gonna get an MLB contract so you can get out of there. Right. So that's why a lot of athletes went that route because even now what I've known is like I question myself, why weren't we taught about financial literacy? Why didn't they teach us, how to invest, how to be your own boss, how to run the stock market, how to build a perfect credit? And it's very funny. I'll tell you this story. I remember in high school, I got my first credit card. I think it was about $500. So excited. There's money on the card. Nobody taught me anything about that. So I opened the card, activated the card, used the card, and in my mind, I was thinking, well, whoever gave me the money, they're just gonna keep putting money back on it. I said it's one of the most fun. I say this all the time. It's one of the most funniest story ever. So in my mind, I was like, man, this is free. Like, somebody just decided to give me money, and I remember thinking to myself, like, hook. Yeah, I was like, I used it, and then never even worried about the card. So in my mind, I just kept saying, oh, they're gonna add money back on it. Going to college because I was offered a dorm, but I didn't want to stay on campus, so I wanted to get my own apartment on campus. Went to apply for an apartment, and they hit me with sorry, you got a credit card on your credit that you ain't paid off. That's bad. It's a bad debt. And even though I had the money in my bank account to afford the property, they would not let me get on the lease because of the credit card. and that was the first time I knew something about credit cards and how to maximize and get that straight. And it struck a chord. I'm like, something, because I kind of felt like that's something that we're gonna face in the real world, and that should have been part of
before we left.
Yeah, that should have been part. That should have been part of the curriculum to teach us those things,
like a priority.
Yeah,
like
and
debt paralyzes you,
man. And that's when I got the whole wake up call about credit and things like that. But it took me again going through another adversity to figure that out, and it just shines light on what we're talking about sometimes these things happen. They don't happen to you; they happen for you. They happen to teach you, lessons and things like that.
So with credit and financial, I totally agree with you. With credit and financial literacy, how do you propose? We get the community caught up on like that lack of knowledge. How do you, like, people are not in school now? They're on social media.
I think as far as they're trying to get people to go to school, but I think there needs to be a curriculum or something that needs to be set up to where people can get this education. First of all, you need to understand why aren't they teaching that? See, that was a question I asked myself. So
why aren't they?
Yeah, why aren't they teaching you, how to build wealth? Because I came to understand, even with like getting to invest in the markets. See, for something to stand, it has to be the bottom so the top can hold. So without the bottom, the top falls off. So the people who owns and runs everything, they need you to be hooked. Because the more you hook, that's how they're able to get paid. The banks will write you out, say, well, hey, invest your money over here. And then what the banks do is they take your money that you put in a savings account and they write out loans to people on credit cards. And these people, why your money is being saved?
They're making money off
They're making off of your money. But they're not telling you that if you take your money, let's say, you put it in a Roth IRA when you're like 13, 14, that's going to compound about, let's say 10 to 12% interest. But if you put your money in a savings account, that's about like 0.1%. So it's a game. It's like, they know how the system works, but they don't need to teach you because the people who are running everything needs to be running everything. And to understand that, it's like, now that we're becoming aware of it, I think the whole curriculum needs to be changed, first of all, to begin with. And there has to be a course or something that shines highlights on how people should be able to manage money and debt. Because, think about it. The whole country is debt. America's in debt. Mm-hmm. So we can't say we want to solve the issues, but we're not taking action to solve the issue. Because I hear a lot of talk, but I don't see nobody doing anything to solve the problem.
What steps do you feel like you and I could take? Like, this conversation is part of this step.
Yeah.
Aside from the conversation, and sharing this insight with the audience, what else do you feel like you and I could do to like help, enlighten people when it comes to financial literacy? Yeah,
I think the most important thing is being able to share the knowledge, with your close friends, brothers, loved ones. And I think that's where it starts. It starts with having a conversation and teaching people how to do that. Because what I've noticed is certain people who learn wealth and who learn how to be, it was passed down. It wasn't like people who learn generational wealth that it was taught to them. Like, it was part of their upbringing. And a lot of time what I've seen, is that a lot of us weren't taught that. So if you don't know something, you're not gonna know how to be able to address them. And I think that's where it came to making these mistakes. Because even when I was 22, 23 years old, playing ball and getting paid, modeling, I wasn't thinking about investing. I was getting money and I was thinking about where am I going to the next vacation?
Thinking about saving account.
Yeah, where am I buying the next Nike? How much is the next Jordan? Like, that's what I was thinking of. I wasn't thinking of how can I put this money to work. So eventually what happens is we're playing the rat race game. If money is spent, it's spent. That's it. if money is invested, it's different. Until I learned, that you can have the things that you want, but those things becomes a liability. And if you don't have asset to pay for this liability, you're hanging
You
yourself.
gotta run out of fuel.
You're hanging yourself. So it definitely was an eye opener when I hit that rock bottom, with not even being able to get my name on the lease. It opened my whole perspective into just wanting to find out more, like how does this work, and even to now, like I wake up every day, I'm like, I'm studying what's going on with the market, with the stocks and everything, and I think the older you get, you become more inspired. It's like, okay, well, I didn't have this growing up. Well, how can I be able to go different and make that better? And I could have so many opportunity to go different route, use different things, use my situation as a crutch. Like, I didn't have a dad growing up. This and that. But I just noticed the things that I was around, the people I was around, there was something more than just, working and getting even when I went into nursing.
How'd you get into nursing? What was it, that transition?
I used to volunteer at a summer camp. I used to work with kids that had special needs. They were autistic, and every summer I would work with the kids playing, baseball, basketball. We'd go to summer camp, and I just fell in the love of wanting to work with children and being around people. And I just came home one day and told my mom that I was gonna, go get a degree, be a nurse. The goal was actually to be a family doctor. So went to nursing school, got my nursing degree. Loved it. Loved being around people. Loved working with children. And then eventually, what happened is that I got transferred to a hospital where I work at a level 2 trauma. Definitely a different world. So much respect to the healthcare workers, because there's so much stuff that you get to deal with mentally, and it teaches you a lot about just valuing life and things. Like, you can walk into work, and in trauma where I work, and there could be somebody coming in there with a gun, with a gunshot wound through their chest, and you got about 3 to 5 minutes to try to stabilize that person, and with the doctors and all the physicians. So it's a different world. It gives you a whole new perspective on life. Like, everything could be fine over here, and then you walked in level 2 trauma. I'm talking about things from like car crash to gunshot wound to suicide, or people being on drugs. So
You worked in that?
yeah, level 2 trauma. And
how long were you in there?
I was in there for over 6 years.
Oh wow.
And it was amazing.
6 years.
6 years doing that. It was amazing. And then one day I just woke up and I was like, it wasn't fun. For me, it's like, it wasn't fun, meaning the reason why I got into it, wanting to work with people, I wasn't, it didn't feel the same. It's almost like going through 2 worlds. You got to go from that world, you got to go to the normal world, sit with your friends, and you have to forget that all of that even happened, and just focus on here and what you're doing. So that's why I said shout out to all the nurses and the doctors that get to deal with these things. But then I knew that I always wanted to be around people. I wanted to work. So that's when I was like, well, I'm going to get into a personal training and coaching and stuff like that. And even that transition wasn't easy.
How was it?
I come from we come from a culture where security and stability, that's what it is. They'll tell you, hey, go to school, get a job, work, and for a while I believed that, and it worked. And I think it worked because we stayed in an era where that was what worked. But I didn't think they set us up with the actual truth. The truth is, going to school and getting a degree and working for somebody else, that only take you so far. But there's more beyond that. What about the people who wanted to do more? What about the people who think that going to school is not the only route? I wanted to learn something that I feel like I can do on my own. And then they tell you when you're 70 years old, you hope to retire and get a pension. So and then go live. But that's not a guarantee. Even a pension is not guaranteed. So you can either do that, or going back to what I said about you could learn to invest in the stock market on invest in a Roth IRA. By the time you're 22 years old, you put about $6-7 grand in a Roth IRA by 22. When you're like 50, 60, that's worth over 1 million. How many people do we know that work 20, 30, 40 years and they retire, don't even have $1 million to save up? So when I started to look deep into these things, I found out it was all a game of chess, and the game was rigged. The game was rigged to where it was only benefiting those that wants it to benefit them. And the rules were rules that were only put into place to benefit the people that they want to benefit. So I told myself, you can't complain about it. You got to learn the rules of the game.
Rules of engagement.
Yeah. and it only make me to say, wow, there's more. And the more I kept looking for answers, and I kept finding out there's more. I'm like, wait, so you tell me that I can work for myself and don't have to go this route, and then I can still be okay? Because when they say when you work and you get a 401k, you're working and hoping to get a pension. And that's something that's not even guaranteed. And one thing I saw about that was also you can work for a company for 30, 40, 50 years, and they can wake up one day and be like, oh, we don't think we need you anymore. But that's also something that's like, when you built something yourself, it's like nobody can fire you.
Pass it on to the keto.
Yeah, nobody can fire you. So I start to understand, how I was more concerned of why we weren't taught these things. And that's where it got me to understand there's a reason why there's a 1%. Because the 1% are doing things that everyone else isn't doing. So I was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to complain about it? Or are you going to try to learn the rules of the game? So I started to figure out that my time being spent doing other things that weren't benefiting me, I started to cut those things short. Said, well, I'm going to start doing this now. I'm going to start doing, because if I do this now, 10 years from now is where I'm going to be. But if I continue to do this 10 years from now, I'll be in the same position and I'll still be complaining. So I had a choice of trying to prioritize my time and just learning more about these things and how they work. For instance, we just had a pandemic. And when you see how this played out, it's insane. The only thing that happened, the whole world shut down. Everybody was losing stuff, but the wealthy people got more wealthy. Because they play the game. So what they do is they wait till everything drops, depreciates, and then they just purchase stuff, and now they're sitting on it. But if you didn't have money saved up, if you didn't know anything about investing, if you weren't taught that, you don't have that power to say how I'm going to maneuver, how I'm going to do certain things. And that's only something that you're going to have to want. That's a responsibility, because I realized that the decision I was making, buying 6, 7, 8 pair of Jordans wasn't getting me anywhere. And I wear shoes 2-3 times, and that was it. But if I took that 6, 7, 8 grand and I invested it, and even if I don't have to work, by the time I'm 60 years old, I could be worth over $1 million. But nobody told us this. So you see, you start to sit there and like, wow, man, but it's amazing. And for me, I just think that even now at this point, I'm like, if it's there, if it's available, I think I'm inspired to just want to reach it and just be better every day. And that's what keeps me going, with all the challenges. And even when I got out of nursing, they were like, I think people were so afraid. They were like, you went to school, you got a degree, it's good, it's safe. And again, that brought me back to what I was saying about we want safety, we want stability, we want comfort. And I think as humans, sometimes we're going to have to get out of that. Because if you're not challenged to where it's either sink or swim, you're not gonna try to figure out how much more you can push yourself.
Right. Change is gonna be uncomfortable.
Yeah. And people didn't even notice when I first started training. I didn't have money to get a place to train. I would train people in the park. So I went to Sporting Goods. I bought like dumbbells, ladders, and different things, and I would drive around in the park and train people for $30. You know, and it's because I wanted it so bad, and I wanted to. I wasn't sitting looking at my circumstances and saying, "Oh well, you don't have money, so there's nothing you do." I tried to figure out, okay, well, how can I be able to get money? You know, get my name out there, get people result. Like I was focused on how can you get people result, and people are going to see that result, and based on that, that's how you increase your wealth. It's because if you're giving people answer, you got to find a problem and then solve the problem. And when people see the solution, and if they like the solution, then that's what they're going to come after. So the key wasn't like, okay, well, I don't have any money, so I'm going to have to figure it out. No, I said, if you can get one client and get result, that's all people need to see.
Right.
So I think sometimes we're more focused on, you know, what the crush that we have and how it's holding us back versus saying, what is it that I can do? And it always starts with you. And then
victim mentality to do more damage.
Yeah. And
what you're lacking.
Even the website, I had to start a website, and I hit up a marketing guy. I was like, yo, man, I'm trying to get a website. And I didn't even know you could do a hosting thing. And he replied back and told me, yeah, I'll do a website for you, but it's going to cost you $10,000.
I'll take an arm
and,
for that site.
And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, man, I don't think I have that much money for, you know, to put up for a website. I went to YouTube. I look up GoDaddy. I bought a domain, you know, every day for 8 hours. You know, I learned how to build my own website. Did that in 2 weeks. So my first website that I hosted ever, I built it myself. I paid the domain and I paid to host it. So, you know, and I keep telling people, like, we're always gonna have obstacles. You know that's God given, but it's how we approached it, how we decide to handle it. That's gonna determine, you know, where we end up next. Even with failing, with the credit, with different things. Like, I still could have said, you know what, you know, screw this. I didn't get no assistance. I didn't get no help, because I heard that a lot. But I think once we start taking responsibility for stuff, it changes the whole new perspective. So now when I move with everything, you know, I'm more aggressive. It's like, if that's not going to do anything for me in the next 5 minutes or 5 years from now, I have no problem just letting it go, because we're spending all this time on things and being distracted, and we're not understanding that if we just shift that focus and prioritize the things that are important to us, and it's easier said than done. You know, like sometimes it takes, you know, like you said, failing to realize that, or, you know,
wake up call.
You get a wake up call, and then you realize how that worked. But man, it influenced me a whole lot. And even now, it's like, I feel like I'm just getting started with the things that I'm finding out. Yeah. I'm like, you know, this more. I'm like, it's not so much of me just wanting more, but it's so much of me just trying to figure out like how better I can be.
Right.
Like, and then the people around me, like, how do I want to impact them? My whole thing is, I want people to say, well, he didn't have what I have growing up. He didn't have his dad, but he still did something. You know, wow. he didn't have the support that I have. Oh, he actually had a degree, but he still had to start over. You know, so I think as humans, there's more we can do, and we're capable of doing more. But it all comes down to how much we're willing to apply ourselves. You know, because you can't speak on change and say, hey, I want certain things, but you're not applying yourself. Like, you know, I'm willing to stay up 24, 46, you know, 30, if I have to get something done. And I think that's the difference, is because if you really want it, you're not going to let anything get in the way of it. And if you don't want it, nobody's going to make you get it. So, you know, it's just for me, it's pretty simple. It's like, you can say, oh, well, I don't have this and that, but what are you going to do?
Right. What do you want, and what are you going to do about it?
You know, what do you want to, and a lot of things I learned, and I'll be honest with you, a lot of things I learned through failing. And even with investing, my first investment, I invested in some marketing guy. I think I lost about like almost like $20,000 investing with somebody. Sheesh. And this is when I first came from playing. I was working with Nike. I lost almost like 20 grand, and it gave me a wake up call because I didn't know a lot about money and investing. So I trusted somebody, and that's how I thought, well, then maybe I need to go do a research on this. But I'm not saying that that's necessarily what you got to do. But I'm saying if you go through adversity or if you experience failure, it's up to you. To determine like how you gonna learn. So now even when I work with someone when it comes to business, I'm very strategic about that. I want to see the contracts. I want to know more about the company. I want to do a research. So I think I always tell people, I'm like, things happen for you. They don't happen to you. They happen to teach you lessons. And a lot of times the reason why that keeps happening is like we ignore it. Yeah, we ignore it.
We're not learning the lesson.
Yep, we ignore it. And that's just what it is. Everything is, I feel like God has blessed us with the talents, the ability. Yes, situations are different than others. And, certain things are hidden from you, but there's still wisdom in there, to be able to sit and analyze stuff. This is why now I don't just move. I analyze, I think before I move with anything. And I think failing earlier during my years helped me with that. So it's amazing to see the growth. And for me, it's about figuring out, like you said, how can we now help the people around, or how can we help influence the community, impact the community in a better way. And I think, it starts with having these conversations, especially with your close friends, your loved ones, the people you hang out with. And, quite frankly, I mean, other than you being a bro, I tell people I got families and I have acquaintances. Acquaintances is people that I meet out in public and I say, what's up? But families, like, it's people that I hang out with, and I don't have that many, people here like that other than you and, but these are conversations you gotta start having.
Yeah, it's like what are you talking about in your day-to-day? What type of conversation are you having with your friends, your family members? Because that highly influences where you go from today to 5 years, 10 years from now.
Yep.
And sometimes I feel like we get too comfortable with just going with the flow. Having the sensitive and the serious conversations is uncomfortable at times. Being honest with ourselves and each other is uncomfortable at times, but that's part of a relationship. That's part of growth. And every day I'm challenged to be honest with myself and the people around me. And the more you work towards it, the more routine it becomes. Like, hey, this is me. You're gonna get the truth, whether you like it or not. Change doesn't happen otherwise. It's like, how does change happen outside of the relationship, outside of the home, in the community, if it's not happening here with it's between me and you?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's definitely deep in itself. Because I know I was being destructive. As a young kid, in my early 26, 28 years old, thinking I'm untouchable, unstoppable. Playing sports, working with the agencies, and it definitely shines a highlight on everything. When I mean being destructive, in a sense, it's like I didn't care to find out about where things was gonna lead. I was pretty much leading with my own will, not sitting and analyzing things. And this is why I said now I sit and analyze things before I move. But before, I would be somewhere and a girl would randomly hit me up and be like, "Hey, let's hang out." Next thing you know, I'm on a flight.
It's like, where you want me at? What time?
And you look back at those things, it's like, now I look back at them. It's not playing victim, but it's like I take more of a responsibility. I'm like, if I'm being destructive, and I'm hanging out with a girl, I'm only gonna bring that, So
you're only gonna attract that.
Yeah, I'm only gonna bring whatever it is that's destructive. I'm gonna bring that with her, and that's what I'm gonna influence her with as well. So I had to realize, like, I wasn't being obedient. I also didn't know the right way to pursue women to begin with. It was just about, oh yeah, you know this girl, she's cute, just hang out. To now where it's like I wasn't talking about things that were meaningful. You know, it was just like, let's hang out, let's party,
Passing time.
Yeah, you know, just passing time. And then eventually you start to think and say, wait, hold up. And now it's different. It's like, you know, what is your purpose? Where you going? Because it's not just, you can't just get with random women. It's like the looks, it's not gonna raise the family. and
The looks is not gonna raise the family.
And that's only wisdom. Like, you know, a person's look is not gonna raise your family. Like someone can be so cute on the outside, how they call it nowadays, but if they don't have the right mindset, you know, the right upbringing, the right morals, the right values, it's gonna be a problem. So now when I meet people or when I talk to people, it's all about, you know, get into this conversation that we never talked about. What is your purpose in life? What are you doing? What is your spiritual beliefs? Because 9 times out of 10, you'll find out everything is cool because y'all hanging out. But when it comes to
real talk,
doing certain things, and then you find out values is off. And I understand that we as a people, we had a value that we were supposed to stick to, but we went away from that code. And we started to take on identity from society that taught us, do as you go, do as you please, this and this and this and that, just go with the flow. But that's when I found out that flow that I was going with was leading me to self-destruction. Every time I went, it was a dead end.
Right. If everybody's doing what they want, then how can two people be compatible? Because everybody's going about it self-made and individuality.
Yep.
How do two people come together and become one?
Yep. And it's a big thing because I said, you know what? If you want change, you're gonna focus on TJ first. And I had to really keep that real myself. Like, first of all, a man's supposed to have a family, be a provider, be a protector. If you don't work on yourself, what are you gonna give to your family? So I later on started to find out all these things that I found out that were very important before even trying to pursue a woman. Like, you got to make sure you have yourself in order. You got everything set, financially set. You have the right foundation before you even try to pursue a woman. And it's not like it's bad, but you know, a woman can go through all these things, but she can also get another man. But it's completely different for a man to just get a woman to take care of him, because that's not how the orders were set up.
Interesting. Women don't take care of us.
Yeah, that's
not like that.
Yeah, that's not how the order was set up. So when you really think about it, it's like, you know, it's a responsibility. You got to keep it real with yourself. You know, how you gonna get a woman, but you can't take care of your home, you can't take care of your kids. So I think these are things that the moment we start taking accountability for it, we'll find out what do we need to be doing, because you're the head of your home. You're gonna influence your home one way or the other. So if you come in there with those traits where you're not responsible, you're not accountable, you're not taking initiative to do things, then the house it's not gonna be run by you. so these are things I was like, you know what? Let me focus on what I need to do. So when I started meeting people, I started asking these conversations, because I'm like, I don't want there to be bumping heads because that someone has a different spiritual belief or someone has a different values, and it's like, wait, hold up, you know, how come we didn't talk about this?
Right.
You know, but I think all of these things really shine light on us as a people, and saying the change that you want, how much you want to influence yourself about it, but it's gonna start with you.
Yeah.
And it's easier for us to just like say, oh, you know, it's that person and this person. And I didn't really start to see change in my life until I started taking these accountabilities. And I was saying, you know what? Everything that happened is like, it's my fault. And people are like, why is that? I was like, because I didn't do what I was supposed to do.
Choices.
You know, so when you look at it differently, it's a different ballgame. And even now, people are like, why do you move this way? I moved this way because the fact that the choices and the things that I'm doing, I'm ready to live with the outcome of it. So taking accountability is very, very important when it comes to that, especially with the relationships.
Well, when it comes to distractions, what would you like to tell the audience as we close up, as far as like some steps to take to starve those distractions?
Man, I think honestly, you gotta have focus. You gotta have a focus on where you're going. You gotta know what you want. Understanding values is gonna help you, because even if you don't have a mindset of where you're going and you don't have a plan, you're always gonna be distracted. You know, discipline is not something they teach you in school. They don't teach you discipline. They say go home and do your homework. So in a sense, if you don't do your homework, you're not gonna pass. The teacher's not gonna come home and say, do your homework. She already told you what to do. So you're gonna have that will to do the homework if you want to pass or not. And it's the same as it goes for anything you're doing in life. I think you need to have a purpose. And with that purpose, you also got to be very, very focused. And that's not something that you're going to learn from anywhere. You're going to have to apply yourself to doing that. And then over time, you get better at it. And distraction is always going to be there. That's it. We're distracted by, even when you drive outside, you got these billboards, there's different things. But you have to be able to focus on the things that you want. And I think focusing would definitely help you out to be able to achieve those goals. But if you're not applying yourself, it's not going to happen.
So becoming more focused is a skill, and you have to work, you have to sharpen it. Once you do, you'll become powerful. You'll become more efficient.
Yeah.
More precise with your thoughts, your words, and your actions. My brother.
Yeah.
We can go. We could go on. We're just gonna keep popping out those episodes.
Yeah.
But thank you for stopping by today.
Thanks for having me, bro. You already know.
I got. We're brothers. We're like great friends. But I still got to know him better today.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we talk about now, and we talk about where we want to be at and how we're gonna get to the next step, but we don't talk that much about the past. And but the past tells you a lot about the present and future. So good looking.
Yeah, absolutely.
On that note, guys, please leave comments down below. Share some feedback about the episode. Like, subscribe. We're going to be here every week. Right. TJ's links are going to be in the description. You already know.
All right.
Tune in next time for Max Your Mind. Max out.
All right. Thanks for having me.